Hello Miners and welcome back. I've got a fun one for you today. I'm in the mood to test out some more Final Fantasy cards, and the next one on my list of things to test out after I got through Tifa is the good old cactus Jumbo Cactuar. So there's a lot of things you could theoretically do with this card, but obviously being a combo player and wanting to do the funniest thing possible, I am jamming it into a mono red sneak attack deck. So I've come up with Sneak Attac-Tuar. So it's a pretty basic mono red sneak attack deck. For those of you who haven't been around for a while and might not be familiar with this archetype, it's kind of an old hybrid prison combo deck that is looking to slow our opponents down with lock pieces like Blood Moon, Chalice of the Void, and Trinisphere until we can get enough mana or use our rituals to ramp out our game enders in the form of sneak attack and through the breach to be able to put a big fatty onto the battlefield to win the game for us. So typically, the only real variations you see in this deck tend to be in the fatty suite, which the pilot will kind of curate to whatever they think is going to be best for the meta at any given moment. There are some pretty much perpetual mainstays in the form of Big Emrakul and Griselbrand to basically just end the game or draw a ton of cards to find the other fatty so that you can use your spirit guides or your lotus petals to cheat even more creatures in with sneak attack to be able to kill your opponent in one hit, or to be able to stabilize your life total with the life gain off of Griselbrand. With the printing of Atraxa Grand Unifier, she's kind of become a mainstay in these decks as well as a card draw source, a source of life gain to get back into the game and stabilize whenever your opponent is able to beat you down early before you can start getting your combo online. And then today, I'm deciding to put Jumbo Cactuar into the deck because I mean, it's a big fatty that can one-shot your opponent. It looks kind of funny if you don't read the abilities on this card, but basically it's a 7-mana 1/7 that when it attacks, it gets plus 9999. So you're looking at 10,000 damage if this thing connects. That is clearly more than 20 and enough to kill your opponent in one shot. The downside is this card has no evasion whatsoever. It can be infinitely chump blocked by 1/1 creatures, 0/1 creatures, whatever your opponent has. So this is basically only going to kill your opponent if they have no blockers. So while it is a crazy huge threat, it is super, super easy to deal with. So how am I going to get around that in a format that has a lot of low to the ground things that can get in its way? Well, that's with the help of an MDFC over here back from Zendikar Rising called Kazul's Fury, which is essentially a fling that has a land on the backside. So I decided to throw this into the deck instead of some of the traditional MDFCs you'd see in here, like Shatter Skull Smashing, or Valakut Awakening, or Sundering Eruption, so that I can still kill my opponent and hit them for 10,000 damage, even if they have blockers to stop the Cactuar after it's attacked. So basically what you want to do is you want to sneak in a fatty, hopefully a Cactuar, get it to attack, get 10,000 power, and then just chuck it at your opponent's face so it doesn't matter if they have a bunch of blockers or not. Outside of that, pretty typical, just mono red stompy mana base, Ancient Tomb, City of Traders, bunch of mountains, fast mana in the form of Lotus Petal, and Seething Song and Simian Spirit Guide, and then there are 3 copies of the One Ring to act as kind of a bridge between early and late game. It's a good way to fog for a turn, dig through your deck, find any of the combo pieces you're missing, or if you do get the combo off and land a sneak attack but you've only got one monster, it gives you a way to dig further for more to be able to keep going and actually kill your opponent, because the Cactuar is the only one that's actually going to kill your opponent in one hit. Into the sideboard is kind of just an array of various stuff here. You've got Fairy Macabres for graveyard decks, Disruptor Flute to be able to name any kind of problematic activated thing, such as Shuko or Nomads and Core, be able to stop problematic planeswalkers. You got Defense Grid for the blue decks to kind of act as pseudo counter magic to tax your opponent's counters, and hopefully they're tapped down enough that it just means that your stuff is going to resolve. A one of Ashen Rider in respect of all of these show and tell decks that are running around so that you can get it into play and it'll put a trigger on the stack to be able to kill your opponent's omniscience or something, and hopefully they don't have an instant speed way to go off. It's also another thing that you could sneak in with your Through the Breach and sneak attacks because it triggers on entry and die, so if you sneak it in, you're going to get to destroy 2 things right away. You've got Chandra, Awakened Inferno for up against the control and tempo decks. It's uncounterable. It's a way to mop up a bunch of small creatures like Bowmasters. and Tamios and stuff like that, and it can eventually win the game on its own just by upticking and continually pinging your opponent down every single turn with the emblems that it makes. Furies, again, to wipe up small creatures out of stuff like the energy decks running around, the tempo decks running around before they get their goifs too big to live through it. Abrade and Shattering Spree to be able to get rid of any kind of problematic artifacts that you're seeing out of any of the like Mystic Forge combo decks or the Blue Painter deck, stuff like that. Abrade also serves as additional removal as well as Fury. 2 copies of Dead Gone to be able to kill small creatures or to be able to bounce a large creature you can't normally deal with out of play, or get a single blocker out of the way if you're trying to kill with Jumbo Cactuar. And then Pyromancy as a way to get around ensnaring bridge style effects. It's unfortunately random, but we can get to a point where we can selectively choose what is in our hand because a lot of our cards we're able to just dump out super quick because of our fast mana. So we can play out like redundant Blood Moons, just exile Spirit Guides for no reason, so that we make sure we have one of our massive mana cost creatures in our hand to be able to pitch with Pyromancy to be able to dome our opponent for a ton of damage. So if you're up against like Artifact and Karn decks that are going to have stuff like Ensnaring Bridge that's going to prevent you from actually attacking with your creatures, it's a way to get around that in addition to being able to remove the Ensnaring Bridge with some of your Artifact removal. So let's see if we can sneak a giant cactus into play, hit our opponent for 10,000 damage either through the attack or through just flinging it at our opponent's face, and see if this crazy little old archetype can get a shot in the arm with the new Final Fantasy cards that come out and take it through the meta. Just a quick note, if you haven't already and you like the content that you're seeing on my channel, please do me a favor, hit that sub button low and like this video. They are great free ways to support the channel. Let me know you like the content that I'm putting out and to keep it flowing. With that all said, let's take this into a league, see how we do, and I'll catch you all in the wrap-up. Play any of the decks you see on this channel with a Mana Traders rental subscription. With a variety of tiers to fit any budget, Mana Traders lets you play whatever you want in whatever format you want. Use code DasSourKraut at checkout and become a better player today. Alright, let's go. This isn't terrible. We pretty much just need mana, which is about a little over a third of the deck. I think we're going to go ahead and keep this, especially since we're on the draw. Obviously, if there's some kind of turn 1 combo deck, we will absolutely fail the force check every time. But a bobble from the opponent for now, targeting themselves into a polluted delta. So I'm thinking this is either a storm deck or this could just be like a tempo deck. Seeing as we have another Simian Spirit Guide, I think I'm comfortable running out this Chalice on 1 because it gives us another Spirit Guide. So if we hit a land, we can try to Seething Song. We could also just YOLO go for it here, but I think we're going to take a turn off to try to get a Chalice on 1 down. And if they counter something, I'd rather them counter this. Force of Will, pitching a Brainstorm. Okay, so they care about that quite a bit. And we got 2 cards out of their hand for our 2 cards. And we still just need a mana source, and we can try to just slam it. Thundering Falls. So this is making me think they are a Delver deck, or they could randomly be like Show and Tell, but I don't know why they'd be running Bobble if they were. Okay, yeah, it's just a ooh, it is a very heavy into the artifact version of Delver. Targeting us, they get to see the sneak attack, so they know what we're up to. So it's just a matter of, do we hit a land and are one of their 3 cards left in their hand a counter of some sort? I would love a Soul Land. A Blood Moon. That is not doing anything for us. Unfortunately, we just have to pass the turn. I mean, it's a good thing we didn't just go for it because they had the Force. Another Bobble. So they're very... Okay, they're binning a Lightning Bolt. Seeing what we're drawing... And we can just F6 through the turn, that's fine. Like I said, I would love a Soul Land so I can play the Seething Song through a Daze. That's a Lotus Petal. I think we just go for it. And we hope for the best here. If they Daze this, this sucks. Is this a Brainstorm or is this a Daze? No, Hardcast a Daze, okay. A little annoying, but we still have a bunch of mana. Unfortunately, we can't pay for it. Their Delver is still, or their DRC is still only a 1/1. Quarry, Steel, Cutter. Okay, so they're like Cutter Delver. Got it. They also binned another Dragon Race Channeler, so they have a real clock now. Emrakul is not what we want. It's really funny. I either seem to get completely mana screwed or mana flood like crazy. So I think they might have gotten game one here. Obviously, waiting to play around that daze isn't actually doing anything. They're probably going to be able to trigger this cutter no problem now. Luckily, we have a good amount of stuff in the sideboard to be able to deal with this. And we still do have a few draws to try to get out of this. Like, Soul Land into another Seething Song could do it. Or just like Soul Land, Normal Land, get the One Ring to resolve, and then we can kind of try to draw back into it. However, we got a Jumbo Cactuar. Yeah, there's no one draw that gets us into this because we only get one draw here. So they just had the double forces going on, so it's fine. That said, we are bringing in defense grids, and we're probably bringing in the Furies. There's also something to be said about bringing in Chandra here. They're a Delver deck, so the Blood Moons are a pretty easy cut here, and then we just gotta find one more thing to cut. The correct thing is to cut a Cactuar, and they do have a decent amount of creatures, so I think we are going to cut a Cactuar, despite the fact that it's what we're trying to do with this deck. But let's bring in Defense Grids to protect our stuff, Fury is a body and to clean stuff up, and Chandra, they can't counter, it's a win con, and it can clean up the board, so let's try that. Alright, let's see if we can pass a force check now. This is a turn 3 through the breach, but they're going to have counter magic. It is a lot of lands to be able to draw into some stuff, but I think we got to ship this. It just doesn't do enough. Okay, this we can keep. I think we are going to trust that we can find mana. And we are going to put back the Spirit Guide. And just trust that within 2 draw steps we find more mana. And we're going to start out with a Chalice on 1. Like I said, hope that we can find mana within 2 turns. Okay, Chalice resolves, so a lot of their threats and their cantrips are shut off now. Looted Delta from the opponent, okay. I wouldn't mind just another Soul Land to slam this One Ring right here. Okay, Fury's something to do to mop up the board if they gotta cut her down. Opponent is fetching with their Delta. Into Surveil Land, okay. Are we going to be punished for not keeping the Spirit Guide? Lost a Lightning Bolt. Okay, Meltdown on 1. Annoying, but not the end of the world. Another Soul Land would be great. Okay. The question is do we want to try to sneak attack, or do we want to try to get the One Ring down? I think we want to try to get the One Ring down. This will be our counterspell test. We are 1 mana away from just being able to cast this Fury and just start trying to beat down with that. Okay, the One Ring resolved. I like that. So either they don't have a counterspell, or they decided this wasn't worth it. Okay, into a mountain. That actually allows us to either play and activate sneak attack, or try to get Fury in first. We'll see if they play any creatures here. A Dragon Rage Channelar. Okay, I think we're just gonna Fury here. Try to mop up the board. Atraxa. Okay, I don't hit that. Draw some cards. Another Chalice on 1 we could try. So, I think we play Fury. Do we want to try to slam a Chalice on 1 first, and then play Fury around days? I think we do. Their channelers are not delirious yet. They can brainstorm here. They could turn them delirious, but they could do this at instant speed anyway, so Fury's only wiping up one of them anyways. And they like whatever's on top. We can play around a daze. If this gets a Force of Will out of hand, I'm actually okay with that. This also gives us the opportunity to be able to draw a red card to pitch cast Fury to test interaction as well. And if they decide they want to force this, that's actually pretty good for us. And then also by waiting, it gives us the ability to play sneak attack and activate it around days as well. Like, maybe I'm playing a little too scared of interaction here, but... Okay, Chalice is in, so that shuts down 1-drops again, unless they have another Meltdown. But if they want to spend their turn casting a Meltdown, I'm okay with that. This looks like it? No, it's a Corey Steel Cutter, okay. Binning a DRC, so they've got Delirium going. I would love to draw a red card here. Like, they can cast another spell into the Chalice. Well, I guess they've got more mana here, but they're holding up interaction now. I was going to say they could cast a spell to turn on the Steel Cutter, but it doesn't look like that's what they're doing. So like I said, I would love to draw a, whatchamacallit here, a red card off of our 3 draws to be able to pitch cast Fury. Okay, that's a sneak attack. I like that. And a Seething Song, and a Kazul's Fury. I don't have quite enough mana to do everything. I think we are going to try to pitch cast Fury to start, pitching Kazul's Fury. See if this gets interaction out of our opponent. They're thinking about it. Come on, force of will this, please. No, okay. Kill one of these. So then the question becomes is... I think we're going to fire off this Seething Song so we can do this without hurting ourselves this turn. I mean, I guess we're technically dead no matter what we do. And I've got 5, 7, 8. I've got 9 mana. So technically I have enough mana to be able to do this twice. Okay, that resolved. We are going to start with Atraxa. See if we can dig into an Emrakul or something. We do hit an Emrakul. We hit a Lotus Petal. We can hit a... Okay, they scoop it up. They see that they're dead because we can flash in the Emrakul and we have more mana to get Griselbrand in as well. So we managed to piece that one together. With that being said, I think we just run it back. Okay, yeah, I like this. We can go ahead and keep this. Turn 2 defense grid, turn 3 sneak attack, hopefully? If we hit some fast mana, we can try to do one of these things sooner. I wouldn't hate a Soul Land here. Another sneak attack, okay. I could have tried to play the Kazul's Fury to start, but I don't want to risk it getting wastelanded and just be back a turn for no reason. Bend to Daze, okay. So they either already have counter magic or they just don't think countering my stuff is what this is going to come down to. And they're trying to turbo delirium this thing. Pitched up Force of Will as well. That is aggressive. I'd love some more untapped mana. That would be the best. I'm just debating what I would prefer to do here. I think I want a Chalice first. Because they're not presenting us with a clock yet. This isn't Delirious. This is only 2 card types in the graveyard. They could find a Bauble, and then they can get Delirium if they surveil something else into the graveyard with the Bauble first. Did not shuffle. Okay, they can get him for 1. That's fine. I also think I would prefer them to... Another Kazul's Fury, okay. I think if they're going to melt down something, I'd prefer if they melt down the Chalice as well. Alright, there's a Daze. So we got a Daze out of hand. They bend to Delta. We can't pay for this. They're still only 1 card type away from being able to get Trajectory Channel Delirious. There's a Polluted Delta. Cracking this. Are we seeing a Surveil land, or do they have... This might be a Murktide Regent. No, it's a Corey Steel Cutter. Okay. Bend to Cutter. Okay. So they're just trying to kill us as quickly as possible here. So... we are going to go ahead and play Kazul's Fury tapped, play Defense Grid, and hope that they don't have any more counter magic, is basically what this comes down to. These upkeep pauses make me think they might have a Surgical Extraction, but I don't know why they would. We will still play a Kazul's Fury tapped, and play a Defense Grid, because this will allow us a Seething Song around Daze, but we still need something... We need a Fatty still, is the problem. We can F6 here. Alright, it looks like they're holding up mana to be able to interact with us. That is... Okay, so we could Kazul's Fury here if we think it's not Daze. They didn't have Daze last turn, but they're holding up mana, so they have something. So, we are going to play this around a Daze, see if this works. That worked. Is it a Force of Will? If so, we have another one to go again next turn. However, we need another untapped land. But this does get 2 cards out of their hand if this is a Force of Will. Force of Negation, okay. We will see if they hold up mana next turn. We already played our land, we got a pass. We will see if they tap down. I would love to have another mana to be able to actually do something here. Like another untapped land allows us... Okay, this is probably going to be... Steel Cutter getting turned online. We can't do anything. It's basically untap land or bust now. Because this is 5 damage right here. And then they can easily do this again next turn. For 7. I mean, that's not dead yet. Granted, this has prowess, so it actually kind of is. Or they're just going to try to kill us now. Hitting us for 6 here. They've only got 1 card in hand, but they get to refuel. They're seeing what we're drawing. And they don't have mana to interact, so yeah, it's basically untap land or bust, or we need them to basically just hit straight lands off of these. Untap land? The 1 ring. Okay, that buys us a turn. And then we'll draw here into another Defense Grid. That doesn't do anything for us. Another Mishra's Bauble, okay. The question becomes is, are they going to tap down to do anything here? We can't do anything, so we can have 6. Okay, they're tapping. They were tapping mana. They're bobbling first. Alright, there's a Ponder. They didn't like what was on top. They've been to Brainstorm. If they don't have any mana, we can just go for it, and then we wipe out most of their board. Decline to shuffle. Found a land. Cracking the land. That has to get in. Okay, so is it a force as their card? I would like something off of the top here. Trinisphere. That doesn't help us. A Lotus Petal. So we can play Lotus Petal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, we just gotta go for it. If they have a force, we're dead. They did not have a force. Okay. Unfortunately, there's still a world where they can just kill us here in 2 hits. They're sacking their lands. And then are we just dead here is the question. I think we are, because this is 4. We'll go to 2. Yeah, I think they just barely got this one. There is a world where we can do everything we need to at instant speed here, though. They get in for 4, so it's just going to depend on if we can... Unfortunately, 2 of our Kazul's Furies are there. So we need to draw, hit a fatty, and hit Kazul's Fury, and we don't. Alright, good game, opponent. I mean, that was super close. On to the next one. Alright, Steve here, end of round 2. I'm a dumbass, and I forgot to hit record, and apparently the game replay is not working still. So I'm going to give you a little wrap up here. Honestly, you're not missing much. It wasn't a super eventful match, unfortunately. It was up against Burn. Game 1, they played a land, played a Swift Spear, and I was able to just turn 1 sneak attack in a Griselbrand off of an Ancient Tomb, 2 Lotus Petals, and a Simian Spirit Guide, and then drew 14 off of Griselbrand to also be able to sneak in a Emrakul and an Atraxa with the help of Simian Spirit Guides that I drew. So it wasn't super eventful, just super quick turn 1. Sideboard-wise, I just took out the Blood Moons, brought in 2 Dead Gons to kill some of their smaller creatures and 2 Furies. Game 2, basically, they played a Goblin Guide on turn 1 and swung, and I played a turn 3 sneak attack with a Griselbrand and drew a bunch of cards, got my life back. In those cards, I drew Emrakul and a Cactuar, but no way to cheat them out. So just hit, got my life back, passed a turn. They got up to 3 lands, just swung with the Goblin Guide again. Next turn, I just snuck in Emrakul and Cactuar and took them down. So not a super eventful match. Like, good to our opponent for trying to play Burn in the current meta, but sorry that I'm a dumbass and I forgot to hit record. But on to round number 3. Alright, round 3. I actually remembered to hit record this time. Won the die roll, so we will take the play. So this is relying very heavily on us hitting mana. But a Chalice on 1 isn't bad. We don't have a fatty, though. I think we got a mulligan this. I don't want to play this greedy. Okay. I think we're going to keep this. This is a turn 1 Chalice on 1. Hopefully we find some more mana and we can slam a Blood Moon on 2. So we are going to bin one of the Blood Moons. Opponent has a Teferi avatar, so I'm very much getting control vibes here. We'll see if this gets forced. No, okay, so either they don't care about it or they don't have the counter and we just shut down all their cantrips. Polluted Delta, okay. Did not crack it. We hit a sneak attack, okay. So we have enablers, we need a fatty, and we need a little bit more mana. I would not hate slamming this Blood Moon down. We'll see if, we'll see what they're doing here. This combination of fetches makes me feel like this might be Storm. Snow-covered island, okay, that is very much not the case. Are they actively fetching around Blood Moon? No. Up the Beanstalk. Okay, so this is Beanstalk control. So Blood Moon should be very good against them. It's just a matter of, is the Blood Moon going to resolve? Well, we hit the land. We are just going to try to slam a Blood Moon. If they got a force, they got a force. It gets a cantrip. No! Okay. Blood Moon resolved. Now we just need a fatty. And Blood Moon should be very good against what their deck is doing, because they're a very mana-greedy deck. And now we need a fatty and for them to still not have a Force of Will. We will just play the Kazul's Fury for now. We might actually slam the sneak attack. They didn't have a Force of Will last turn. We're going to see if they do this time. Because if this resolves, they're going to have a very hard time getting it off of the battlefield with their colors locked out. Ooh, they had a Daze. Okay. I'm not used to these decks playing Daze. However, it's better that it's a Daze and it was not a Force of Will. Alright, they hit a second blue source, so they could get a Murktide Regent down at some point soon. Another sneak attack. Do we want to play around the Daze this time? Do we think they have a Daze? I don't know. We're just going to run it back. See if they got another Daze. See if they found a Force of Will. Okay. So it should be very difficult for them to get sneak attack off of the battlefield, and now we just need to find a fatty. Alright, no land from the opponent. And that is a Through the Breach. Unfortunately, we still don't have a fatty yet. So we're kind of just playing this game of waiting until we find one. Luckily, like I said, they're going to have a very hard time getting this off of the battlefield. Just play the Ancient Tomb, pass the turn. I don't like that we're giving them time. But yeah, without access to green mana, it's going to be very hard for them to kill this. Okay, Orcish Bowmasters is mostly fine, but it is a clock. It's a slow clock, but it's a clock. Okay, good to know that they have Wastelands. I mean, we're relatively secure against Wastelands for the most part. Casting a Lorien revealed. Okay. So they can refuel pretty well. But again, they're going to have a very hard time getting rid of the sneak attack. And we're just at a point where we really just need to find a fatty. And they got to discard some cards here. See what they discard. Chuck to Ponder and a Brainstorm. Alright, well we might be hitting the fail rate of this deck. Like I said, luckily they don't have a very good clock at the moment. If they ever hit a Murktide Regent, we're in trouble. More lands from the opponent. Alright, just passing the turn. Come on, fatty. Alright, we're getting to the point where we can just hardcast an Emrakul at this point. These decks could also have Barrowgoyf in them, but I feel like probably not. And then something like a One Ring is kind of a liability. Just playing out lands still, just so they don't have to discard. Give me a fatty. Oh my god, deck. I mean, like I said, luckily they have a relatively slow clock here, so it's not like we're under a ton of pressure, but I mean, this is still a 14-turn or 7-turn clock. And they're amassing resources to the point where even if we get a, like, One Ring or something, it's probably going to get countered. So we really need to just naturally hit a fatty. Because Zul's Fury doesn't do it. Okay. Like, that is the one downside about decks like this, is since you don't have any real selection of any source, and the One Ring is your only source of card advantage, you are literally just at the mercy of the top of your deck. I mean, we've got a good amount of fatties in the deck, though, so... Chucked a Nile Spellbomb, chucked another Up the Beanstalk... Trinisphere isn't really doing much of anything here. I'm mostly concerned about them finding another Bowmaster to increase their clock. Griselbrand is also very much a liability here. Chuck the Fatal Push. Oh my god, deck. We do have enough mana that we can try to multi-spell to freak them out, but I'm sure that they have tons of whatchamacallit here. Alright, I got 2 more draws to find a fatty here, or I'm just dead. Fatty? Another sneak attack. I mean, it's not bad just to have redundancy, I guess. And I guess there's something to be said about run out this Trinisphere. Just to tax their mana a little bit more. It's not really doing much of anything, but... We've got 2 more draws to find a fatty. Unless they have another Bowmaster. It's going to be really disappointing if we get the hooks in and we just don't find a fatty. Alright, we got 1 draw. And the One Ring probably isn't going to do it, because I very highly doubt they don't have a counterspell here. Fatty? Okay, that is a fatty, and that is a very good fatty. Because it also pads our life total. And draws us cards. So I like this a lot. Coming in at the last second here. Okay, we want Cactuar, the One Ring. None of this other stuff actually matters. We don't need a redundant Blood Moon. So we can say that we're done. We can play the One Ring just for the sake of trying to give ourselves protection in case something goes wrong here. Okay, this is just going to be a hardcast Force of Will, it looks like. Or are they pitch casting a Force of Will? No, it is a hardcast Force of Will, okay. Yep, Force, you get to draw a card, that's fine. We will activate this, put in the Cactuar, move to combat. Don't be sandbagging a Bowmaster, opponent. Alright. Get our trigger off the Cactuar. Casual 10,000, 10,000. And we got there at the last possible second. Holy shit. Okay. So what do we want to bring in sideboard-wise? I think we want to bring in defense grids. Ashen Rider might not be a bad idea. Fury can mop up like Bowmasters and stuff, though I'm not sure if that's super relevant. Chandra's probably a good one to bring in as well. The question just becomes like, what do we want to go down? Because our deck has a lot of good stuff against them. On the draw, Chalices aren't quite as good. We brought in one big fatty, so we can probably take out one Cactuar. And maybe trim one Chalice? Maybe two Chalices on the draw? Do we want to just take all the Chalices out? Do we need the Ashen Rider? It's really good removal if we can get a sneak attack down. Chandra's a little slow. Maybe we just run a single Chalice if we're on the draw. We bring it back in on the play. Like, Chalice isn't great on the draw. So, let's try this and we will adjust accordingly if this goes to a game 3. Okay, this is, again, we just need a fatty. But I think we can keep this. We have redundant sneak effects. We have a turn 1 defense grid. And we have it around a daze, which is very nice. Well, now we have multiple sneak attacks to be able to just jam. And then we just need to get around a whatchamacallit. So if this gets countered, we have multiple sneaks to try to get through. We're getting a reaction from the opponent, cracking their delta, getting a basic, brainstorming, okay. Are they looking for a counter? I would love a Blood Moon. It does look like they're just Sultai Beans, though, so I don't know if we need to worry about stuff like Leyline Binding or not. Alright, we can't do anything, so we can have 6 through the turn. We don't have enough mana up. Cracking their delta, okay. Getting a Trop. Is this just a Beans? Yes, this is just a Beans. That means that we can get Sneak Attack in, which I think is probably just the correct thing to do here while we can. Like, just get it in now while we can. We know they can't counter it. And again, it should be quite difficult for them to be able to remove this. Unless they have a Force of Vigor and they just hold up 3 mana. But we have another one to be able to try to do this again. But we're back in the same spot. We're basically just waiting for a fatty. Ooh, Hydroblast. Okay. I mean, I guess that's one way to do it. We have another one, though, so I'm not super concerned about that. And a Ponder. Okay. We do have the mana to be able to through the breach in a fatty if we find one. It looks like they're missing land drops. Okay. Well, we have another one, opponent. We have another Hydroblast to deal with it. And again, just in the waiting room for a fatty. Yes, they do. They do have another Hydroblast. Okay. But the nice part is we have it through the breach. You can go ahead and kill that. That's totally fine. A One Ring would be nice. Cycling a Lorien Reveal to hit their 3rd land drop, so they can start holding up forces and stuff starting next turn. But it means that they're doing literally nothing to do that. Grabbed an Underground Sea, okay. Didn't play it, though. Alright, well, we'll just play Mountain and pass. Oh yeah, they played Wasteland that turn. Right. Never mind. I was thinking they were missing a land drop. Played the Underground Sea. Like, is this just a Murktide region? It's a little annoying if it is. Yes, it is. Okay, so basically, come on, fatty. Give me a fatty off of the top. How big is this Murktide? It is a 6/6. Alright, come on, fatty for this through the breach. Let's go. Emrakul would be the absolute best. That is not a fatty. Okay. Well, luckily, this is a 2-turn, so it's not going to kill us in 1, but now they could just play, like, Protect the Queen here and just hold up their mana. Alright, get in with the Murktide Regent. And now they're in a position that they can just hold up their mana to try to counter something. Do we think they have a counter is the question. I mean, we gotta put them to the test. We don't really have a choice here. Do you have the counter? We get around to days. If it's a force, so be it. This could be a Hydroblast. Do they have another blast effect? No, it is a Force of Will, so it gets 2 cards out of hand, but they get to draw 1. So we need to draw another sneak effect, or we need to draw the One Ring. So I guess we'll see what happens here. Or if they have another Murktide region, it grows the first one. Get into combat. Okay. We need another top deck of the century here, and for them to not have any more counter magic. Sneak attack? No. Okay. We probably should have waited a bit on those sneak attacks. I wasn't thinking about Hydroblast for some reason, but either way, I honestly think we're going to bring Jumbo Cactuar back in. Like, clearly we just don't have enough fatties for what we're trying to do here. I'm also unsure how good Trinisphere is actually going to be. I think we might take one out. I also don't necessarily think we need Ashen Rider. We can bring Chalice of the Void back in. Chalice actually seems much better against them than I thought it was. Yeah, I think we're just going to take the Trinispheres out, bring more Chalices back in. Chalice seem to be much more effective against them than Trinisphere, so let's try that. Alright, let's see if we can get game 3 here. This is unkeepable. Gotta ship it. This is also unkeepable. Gotta ship it. Well, this is not how I want a game 3 to start. Okay, this we can keep. Unfortunately, we have to put 2 back. I hate to do it, but I think we gotta put the mountains back. Or we can put Atraxa back. Do we trust that we're gonna hit mana is the question. Putting 2 cards back here kind of sucks. Do we trust that we're going to hit mana? Or do we think there's more mana in the deck than there is fatties? So I think we're just putting all the mana back, as much as I hate it. If we just top deck a untapped red source, we can just win, assuming this resolves. No. Force of Will pitching Force of Negation, but they're down 2 cards for our 1 card. I was just about to say, a Wasteland is the worst thing we could see from our opponent, and now we need to draw mana. I mean, the deck's got a lot of it. That is not the type of mana we want here. Alright, well, I mean, sometimes your opponent just has it. Looks like they're missing lands as well, though. Okay. We are in the land waiting room here. Who draws them first to be able to start doing things? Okay, we have lots of sneak attack effects. Okay, they found a land first. That is unfortunate. Well, we're finding all of our fatties now. This is extremely disappointing if this is how this game is gonna go. Yeah, like I said, this is the issue that I had when I was testing this deck out. It's like you either get completely mana screwed or completely mana flooded, and there's basically no in between, it seems. Cycle to Lorien revealed, 4 an Underground Sea. Okay. We can't do anything. We basically just need to hit lands and then start slamming shit and hope that it works. Ponder from the opponent. I mean, we got 2 counters out of their hand, but clearly they kept a handful of action if they missed land drops for like 3 turns as well. Did not shuffle off of the Ponder. There's their Underground Sea. And another Through the Breach. Disappointing, but is what it is. This is what happens when you play these Glass Cannon, Force of Will check decks sometimes. Like, it's what it is. We're here to have fun, not to be good. Brainstorm from the opponents. Into a tropical island, into, I'm assuming, probably a Beanstalk. Or they might have a Murktide Regent. This looks like a Murky. And I am being ultra punished for getting rid of my lands from my opening hand. Yeah, that's an Ancient Tomb. There's still hope. And they have another Wasteland. Okay. Yeah, this one's over. Like, if we rip Soul Land, Basic Land, and they have no interaction, there's a shot. I mean, we'll play this. Like, it's a land. Because I only get one more draw step. It has to be a Soul Land, and our opponent has to have literally nothing. Into an Orcish Bowmasters. That doesn't change the clock at all. Alright. You have another Wasteland to punish this opponent. Opponent says GG. Well, we're going to try this here. I'm assuming they have a counterspell. Well, the first one resolved. We're going to see. Maybe we lucked out? I mean, we're going to try this. I'm assuming they have a counterspell. No? Well, opponent's saying they do not have a counter. I cannot believe that. We need to take Lotus Petal, Chandra, I guess. I don't think it matters. Seething Song? Mountain and a Simian Spirit Guide? Okay. I cannot believe our opponent didn't have a counter. I am sorry if you see this. I did not mean to hit an early GG on you. I literally hit the enter button by accident after I typed the message out. I was waiting until the game was actually over. Unless they're sandbagging a Bowmaster and they're just going to ultimately troll me, which if you do, good job, opponent. Sheoldred's Edicts. Okay. Well, we lose the Atraxa. We get to put in a Jumbo Cactuar? And then just for good measure, we'll play this Lotus Petal? And then we will move to combat? Do you have a 1-mana bounce spell to kill this Cactuar? Alright, we took it down. I can't believe that. Good game, opponent. Again, sorry about the early GG. I did not mean to hit the enter button. I just kind of hit it by accident reaching for my mouse. But alright, on to the next one. Alright, won the die roll. Let's go. Turn 1, Chalice. Turn 2, Trinisphere. So, like, the whole thing about this deck is most of the time you don't want to keep a hand that doesn't have a follow up to a lock piece. However, we have a bunch of mana, we have a bunch of lock pieces. I think I'm going to take a risk and keep this. Feel free to yell at me if this does not pan out, and there is a possibility that it won't, but with how heavy the format is into tempo decks, I'm willing to take this risk. And we get a Force of Will pitching a Tamiya from the opponent. So I'm still feeling relatively good with the decision I made here. Because I'm just going to follow this up with a Trinisphere that plays around a Daze. If they have another Tamiya that's a little annoying, or if they Thoughtseize me, it's annoying. Okay, well, they Thoughtseize me. But we have a bunch of mana, and we got a counter out of their hand. Wait, what? Oh, they Thoughtseize themselves and took an Atraxa. Okay. I was not anticipating that at all. So we're up against Dimir Reanimator. Luckily, this shuts off their reanimates for a little bit. And it looks like they kept a one-lander, so this is buying us tons of time. We just need a sneak attack effect. Well, we'll play Kazul's Fury, and we're just in a waiting room to find a sneak effect and hope that our opponent doesn't find their lands. Which, luckily, they're giving us tons of time to do. Sneak attack? No, land. Okay. I mean, we could always get to the point where we just hardcast this Emrakul as well. But I'm sure they will find their lands before then. Then again, maybe not. Another land. Okay. We're at 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 mana, 9 mana, 10 mana. We're actually relatively close to casting this Emrakul. Well, they found a second land. We need a sneak attack effect. We have a Simian Spirit Guide. That is 11 mana. And if they just tap out to reanimate the Atraxa, I'm actually kind of okay with that. Been to Brainstorm. Decided that wasn't what they wanted. Can they keep missing lands? Yes. Alright, come on, deck. Give me a sneak attack effect. Give me something. Alright, this is 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we are actually legitimately almost to Emrakul mana here. Alright, they hit their third land finally. I'm assuming this means this is a reanimate. Yes. Alright, so why do we see these Bowmasters? What did they do? Oh, this is what they revealed before. So we know there's 2 Bowmasters in their hand. Reanimate. Okay. So in theory, we're still in this. Like, if we hit a sneak attack off the top, we just win. If we hit a Through the Breach off the top, we just win. A One Ring would be good. We can also take a hit from an Atraxa if we hit another Soul Land, and then we can just Emrakul the following turn. Alright, they took Wasteland, Force of Will. Okay. So Wasteland, Force of Will, Tamiyo. So basically everything on the bottom. Alright, show me a sneak attack deck. Show me some kind of sneak effect. Otherwise, they're probably just going to hold up this Force of Will forever. Chuck Tamiyo, Reanimate, and Orcish Bowmaster. Sneak attack? Traxa. Okay. Like, this is the risk when you don't keep anything with a payoff, but I mean, they had the Thoughtseize. I was 100% anticipating it hitting us. And they have a Force of Will up, so there's a good chance that there's the sneak attack. Do we want to try to bait out this Force of Will, or do we want to try to wait a turn and see if we can hit another spell? I think we're going to wait a turn to try to bait out another spell and hope that they don't have double force is basically what we want here. Yeah, we basically just got to wait, see if we can bait out another spell. Blood Moon. They probably aren't going to force that. Let's see if they get antsy here. Ooh, we're getting a force out of them. Okay. Force of Will pitching Ponder. They don't have the mana to do anything else here. And we have enough mana to be able to do this without tapping the Ancient Tomb. And Emrakul wipes their board. We will play Emrakul, wipe your board, and stabilize. Okay, we baited out the Force of Will. I cannot believe they went for the mana. Like, I thought for sure they would have waited until we had a payoff. They have to sacrifice their whole board for this. And we have the Atraxa to follow up next turn. I cannot believe that that worked at all. Like, seriously, cannot believe that that worked. And opponent doesn't have a land, and we will just slam an Atraxa and win. Activate Sneak Attack. Put Atraxa into play. And they don't even want to see what else is in our deck. Okay, holy shit. I can't believe that fucking worked. Holy shit. Okay, against what our opponent's doing here. Defense Grid's in. Fairy Macabre's in. Chandra in. I think we can take the Blood Moons out They are a little bit of a greedy mana base, but they do play basics and have ways to get them. And then being on the draw, I think we will take out one Chalice, and we will try that. There's something to be said, if this goes to a game 3, we might bring the Furies in if they switch on to the full tempo plan and just take the Reanimator stuff out, because this is a tempo deck at heart. But them seeing that we're a mono red deck, they probably aren't going to because they're not afraid of counter magic. Alright, so this is a case of we have a bunch of mana and a payoff, but no lock pieces, no fatty. I think we're going to ship this, try to do something better. Okay, I like this. Bin the redundant Ancient Tomb, and we're going to try to Chalice on 1 on turn 1. Polluted Delta from the opponent, instantly cracking it. Into an island, into a Tamiyo. Okay. Well, luckily we can play this Chalice around a Daze. So we will play Ancient Tomb, play Lotus Petal, and we will Chalice on 1. This has to be a force. And if this resolves, it shuts down Brainstorm from flipping their Tamiyo. And then we can follow this up with a One Ring. Unfortunately, it is a little painful, but it is what it is. So they either didn't have a force or they just didn't care. Hopefully they still don't have a force. There's a Seething Song. We are going to slam the One Ring and hope that they don't have anything here. Again, we can pay for Days. This might be worth forcing if they didn't think this was. Okay, they do have a force now. But that's good for us in the sense that it gets a counter out of hand. Maybe? Maybe they don't have the blue card to go with it? It looks like they don't have the blue card to go with it. And they're looking for it. Or they wanted to see what they had first. Okay. Force pitching a Ponder. That's mostly fine. It's going to be much harder for them to flip this Tamiyo. And it doesn't present any kind of clock at the moment. Because they're going to need to hit more lands. Which it looks like they're missing. More mana. That's not great for us. We will pass the turn. They'll probably crack this clue. No, Orcish Bowmasters. Okay. So it looks like they may have transitioned onto the full-on tempo route here, but I guess we'll see. It would have been really nice if that One Ring resolved. They are still very far away from being able to flip their Tamiyo. Didn't surveil a fatty into the graveyard. They like whatever they had. Another land. Okay. Yeah, I don't like where this is going. Again, this is a risk. I mean, the One Ring was our payoff here. They're not even trying to flip Tamiyo, it looks like. Into a Barrow. Okay, so it does look like they went onto the full-on tempo plan here. I guess we probably have one turn and to hope that they don't have any kind of counter magic to find a sneak effect of some sort. But even then, it doesn't fully wipe their board out because they've got all of these clue tokens. So I think we are going to bring the Furies in. Entomb, okay, straight whiff on the Barrow and didn't grow it. Seething Song. How much mana is this? We've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. That is not enough. We're technically not dead yet. Unless they have okay, they have another Bowmaster. Okay. So we are definitely bringing in the Furies for the next game. We just never found a sneak effect. Griselbrand. Yeah, we were finding a sneak effect anytime soon anyways. So with that said, we are going to bring the Furies in. It looks like they may have boarded off of the Reanimator plan. I think we're going to take a calculated risk here and take the Fairy Macabres out. Try that. Alright, let's see if we can pick up game 3 here. This is a turn 1 if we want to just go for it. Do we think that they kept a Force of Will is the question. I think we're going to keep. See what they do. I think we're going to wait for turn 2 to play around a Daze. Unless they mulligan super far. Alright, they kept a 6er. I think we are going to wait until turn 2 so we can play around a Daze. If we hit a defense grid, we can bait with the defense grid and go from there. Misty Rainforest from the opponent. Into an Underground Sea. Into a Thoughtseize. Unfortunate. Do they take the Breach or do they take the Griselbrand? I think you want to take the Breach because I can always hit another fatty. But we'll see what they do. They could also want to just reanimate our Griselbrand. If they still have that in the deck. They took the Griselbrand. Okay. Do we hit a fatty? No, we do not. Now we just gotta hope that they don't have a reanimate or reanimate our Griselbrand. They do have the reanimate, so they did keep that in. Okay, well, they can activate it once. But it looks like they're not going to. Okay. So I want a fatty, and I want them to not have counter magic. Fatty? That's a fatty. Alright, we're gonna see where this goes. Days. Pay for it? Please don't have a Force of Will? Pay for it? Through the Breach? Okay, they did have a Force of Will. Okay. I guess we gotta hope that they hit bad off of these Griselbrand draws and we find another source of mana before they find another counterspell. What did they pitch there? They pitched a Ponder. Okay. They can't do anything. Yield through the turn. Up to 15. Are they going to activate the Griselbrand? Probably? No. Okay. Mana? Trinisphere. I think we're going to try this. We can take one more Griselbrand hit before we're dead. Alright, they're activating Griselbrand now. Trying to find a counter. Brainstorming. Okay. Does this resolve? No. Force of Negation. Okay. I mean, we have to find mana, and we have to hope that they have literally nothing. And we have a shot. Polluted Delta into an Undercity Sewers. Kept whatever it was on top. I don't like that. I mean, we can't do anything, so we'll just F6 through the turn. Alright, and now I don't think there's anything that gets us out of this. Oh, we hit a Seething Song. That would have gotten us there. Good game, opponent. That was super, super close. On to the final round. Alright, final round. Won the die roll. Playing for that sweet positive record. Again, this is the case of we have a bunch of mana, we got a bunch of lock pieces. We have a fatty this time at least, so we have half of the combo. I think we're going to keep this. We are going to start off with a turn 1 Chalice. Opponent kept on 7. Start out with City of Traders, because our plan is turn 1 Chalice into turn 2 Blood Moon, so that our lands stick around. And that resolved. Okay. Ship the turn. See what our opponent's doing over there. Urza's Saga. Okay. Mox Opal. Well, we can stop the Saga from making constructs, assuming this... Ooh, and a Trinisphere. I like that. Exile this. Slam a Blood Moon. This will shut the Saga off from creating... Ooh, they have a Force of Will, so it looks like they're blue artifacts of some sort. I think we'll just pass the turn from here. Unfortunately, we have no red mana now. It looks like they might be on, like, blue painter or something? Do they have a way to make constructs is going to be the question. Because we can try to slam a Trinisphere next turn, especially if they seem to be mana screwed. There's a Minamo, and there's a painter. Okay. So this is blue painter. Made everything black. Okay. Interesting. Into another Ancient Tomb. This is just enough mana to do it, though, right? Because this is going to go grab an artifact, which is going to turn this on. But we have Emrakul, so it's not actually game over here. Okay. I mean, this isn't game over by any means. We have Emrakul in our deck, so, like, their combo doesn't actually kill us. Like, you can go ahead and mill us, but we literally have 2 Emrakuls. There's the Grindstone. There's another Saga, so we do need to worry about Saga beats. Yeah, activate it, and my whole library is just going to shuffle back in. Because I have 2 Emrakuls. So, yeah, this combo doesn't work against me. Unless you have main deck Surgical Extractions, but... However, we are going to have to start worrying about constructs. They do get to see our whole deck, though. There's red mana, so we will play that. Pass the turn. This is a nice part about having Emrakul in your main deck, is you have some resiliency to Painter. Or they're just going to go on the Saga Beatdown route, which, I mean, that will kill us if we don't hit what we need. I would love a One Ring here. Making a construct now. Alright, pass the turn. That is an Emrakul. Basically, we need a Through the Breach, or we need a Sneak Attack, and for it to resolve. However, they probably have Pithing Needle, can go grab that, name whatchamacallit. Or, actually, with this open, yeah, they actually get us now. Okay. Yeah, with the Graveyard Hate like that, that actually does get rid of our deck, so... Okay, so they do have a main deck way to deal with Emrakul. I forgot these are pack and main deck Soul Guide Lanterns. Up against Painter. Disruptor Flute in. Fury in. Abrade and Shattering Spree in. Blood Moon is still relatively effective against them, as is Chalice. But we need 5 things out. Maybe Furies aren't really necessary, seeing as they're blue painter. And we can probably trim some number of Blood Moons. They have so much artifact mana, I'm not sure Blood Moon is going to be super relevant here. So, let's try that. Alright, let's get these next 2. Let's go. Okay, I like this. We can keep this. We got a lot of artifact removal, and then we've got 2 breach effects. We just need to find a fatty and some additional mana. Play a mountain, pass the turn. Mox Opal, okay. Lotus Petal, Ancient Tomb, Disruptor Flutes. What are they gonna name? Are they gonna name Sneak Attack or are they gonna name Through the Breach? Sneak Attack, okay. And a Tamiyo. Well, we can kill the Tamiyo. A Lotus Petal, we can cast that. This also gives us the mana to be able to Through the Breach next turn. I can try to Abrade the Tamiyo, or I can try to Abrade the Disruptor Flute. We'll see what looks like a better option at the time. Get a clue, okay. Into a Thought Cast, okay. That's going to try to flip the Tamiyo. We are going to try to kill the Tamiyo in response before... Well, they actually got their draws already, so never mind. This does get a force out of their hand if they have one. Okay, killed the Tamiyo. And I've still got Shattering Spree to blow up this Disruptor Flute. They're tapping their mana for something, then decided against it. Cracking the Bauble to see what we're drawing. Okay. Draw for their Bauble. What are we drawing? We are drawing a Griselbrand. I think we are going to test their interaction first. See if this gets a Force of Will out of their hand. Cracking a Clue. Okay. Killed that. We could play Sneak Attack this turn, but I think we're going to wait a turn, try to get some more mana before we do. Seat of the Synod. Emery. Okay. Just keep dumping shit out, opponent. That's what I want to see. There's an Emrakul. I think we're going to try to go for the Sneak Attack, because this is the most mana-efficient one. And this means one mana source and we can Through the Breach next turn. If this resolves, we can just Sneak Attack in Griselbrand. Hydro Blast. Okay. See what they want to do here. One mana and we can try to Through the Breach. That's a Tamiyo. Getting back Disruptor Flute. Okay. What are they going to name here? Are they going to name Sneak Attack again, or are they going to name Through the Breach now? Sneak Attack again. Okay. Show me a mana deck. Mana? That is mana. Don't have another Hydroblast? Don't have another counter? Ugh, Flusterstorm? What is this shit? Okay. I mean, unfortunately, that's what this deck is. Now we have to get mana and stuff to do. And they're going to be drawing at least 2 cards a turn with this Emery. Yep, there's their Bauble. Getting a Clue. There's a One Ring. If I hit a Soul Land, I can try to hit that, but there's a good chance they're going to time this so they can flip their Tamiyo. But they need to get something back here first. So they can flip Tamiyo, but they can't get one of their counter spells back yet. They get access to another card, though. And we kind of just gotta hope for an untapped Soul Land here. Otherwise, literally nothing is going to resolve the rest of this game. They have been doing a bunch of damage to themselves, though. Into another Mishra's Bauble. Played a land. Yeah, they just had it for our first couple of... Ooh, are they going to get another Bauble back? Yes. Okay, so they're going to get 2 redraws off of this. Yeah, it's Soul Land and hope that they don't have shit. But they're back up to 7 cards. Yeah, it's going to take a while, but they got this one, unfortunately. Unless they just, like, randomly kill themselves somehow. Because they can down-tick Tamiyo to grab a Hydroblast or something. Yeah, they take it down to grab a Hydroblast. There's their win con. I mean, luckily Hydroblast doesn't deal with the One Ring. They're just doing Emery shit to go get extra draws and stuff. They see an Atraxa in her hand. Like, this is pretty well over. It's just going to take a little while until it actually happens. Because there's a Sneak Attack. Yeah, this is virtually over. It's just going to take a little while. It's a little unfortunate that they had it, but I mean, that's kind of what this deck is. It's a force check deck. We didn't, like I said, we didn't come here to be good. We came here to have fun and try hitting opponents for 10,000, and we did that. So as far as I'm concerned, mission accomplished. So we'll just let them have their fun. Wait until they actually kill us, because technically we still are at 20. And opponent's just moving to discard. Thoughtcast, Island, and an Ancient Tomb. There's a Seething Song that doesn't actually do anything. This is going to be... honestly, a relatively small construct compared to what it could be at this point. It's only a 5-5, but it's about to be a 6-6, possibly a 7-7. Like, we'll just have 6 through the turn. Didn't even bother making a construct with it? That's surprising. This is 14 damage right here. Like, can they get 2 more artifacts onto the battlefield is the question. There's 1. And, yeah, that's 2. That's lethal right there. Alright, yeah, They just had enough interaction, is what it is. But I mean, hey, we still put up a 2-3 overall. So, like, honestly, it's better than I thought. We'll address it all in the wrap-up. So this was a blast. Honestly, it did better than I thought it would. traditionally these mono red sneak attack decks have kind of been outclassed by blue based show and tell, sneak and show style decks that are able to back up this sneaking a big fatty plan in with counter magic and cantrips to be able to find your combo faster. The problem with having a mono red deck like this is you're very much at the mercy of the top of your deck, which we saw a few times throughout the course of the league, which is where the One Ring does come in to kind of help that. And it is a big boost to the style of deck, giving a mono red deck some form of card advantage to be able to find missing pieces or to catch back up if your opponent counters your first attempt to go for the combo. So, despite the fact that this is probably an objectively worse version of the sneak a big fatty into play archetype compared to the show and tell and omni show style decks, this actually did pretty well overall. We actually got to see it do the thing. We got to see a giant cactus attack our opponent for 10,000 damage. Personal note here was noticing that mtgo stops at negative 99 and it won't show negative 10,000. I was a little disappointed in that. Daybreak, if you see this, please fix that, just because I think it'd be hilarious to see a negative life total that big, but that's just me. But yeah, overall, the deck felt pretty good considering the constraints. In general, unfortunately, lock pieces are not quite as good for the meta as they used to be. It used to be just something as simple as a Blood Moon or a Trinisphere or a Chalice of the Void alone could basically solo a game, and you really wouldn't need to actually find your combo. You'd have all the time in the world. But with the power creep and the new cards that have been printed, and especially with stuff like Beseju and Brazen Borrower, and these 2 mana or uncounterable ways to deal with the common lock pieces mean that the lock pieces aren't as powerful or as game ending as they used to be, and you're definitely under pressure of, even once you get the lock piece down, you only have so much time to be able to find the combo to actually end the game. So despite all of the headwinds of the way that Magic has gone and the way that the meta has progressed over the years, this actually felt pretty solid overall. Um, Obviously, if you care about your win rate, do not play this version of the deck. You could get away with more Emrakuls, more Griselbrands, more Atraxas. You could throw stuff like Archon of Cruelty in. Do not play Jumbo Cactuar if you care about your win rate. I did it for the meme, basically, just to be able to say that I did 10,000 damage. So if you do want to play this style of deck and you care about your win rate, just know that this is a meme version of the deck, and you are better off playing something other than Jumbo Cactuar. But I'm glad that we got to at least highlight it, and it led to a couple of wins throughout the course of the league. So it was cool to be able to see it do its thing, even if it wasn't objectively the correct thing to do at any given point. As far as the sideboard's concerned, I mean, it felt pretty good overall. I know there's some tension with Chalice of the Void, but I feel like some amount of maybe like Red Blast effects would be beneficial to bring in against the blue decks. Again, I know there's the inherent non-bow with Chalice of the Void because you're going to be putting it on one against the tempo decks 90% of the time, and the Red Blast effects are all 1 mana. But it kind of comes down to you want either or in your deck to try to force your stuff through, and all of their counters are going to be able to get through Chalice of the Void anyways because they're using Force of Wills and Days and Force Negations. So there's something to be said about just upping the amount of interaction you have total against those kinds of decks. We never really saw Pyromancy do its thing, in all honesty, even though it was testing. I never got paired up against any Ensnaring Bridge style decks, so I never really got to test it out. But outside of that, like, it felt pretty good. It felt like it had some fairly clean sideboarding in general. Um, I would like to see more of the One Rings, either another one in the sideboard or find a slot for one in the main deck, because that just felt huge a lot of the time. Because as you saw, being mono red, we don't have cantrips. That's our only source of card advantage, and try to get back into the game if our first couple of attempts to combo off get countered or whatever. But yeah, overall, the deck was a ton of fun to play. It honestly did better than I thought it would, considering my history with playing these mono red decks ever since the dominance of the blue based show and tell and sneak attack decks that are running around that are just honestly objectively better than the mono red versions. But I will always have a soft spot for these style of decks. Mono red sneak attack was one of my first paper legacy decks that I ever built, and I absolutely loved it. And led to some hilarious times at local FNMs playing it, just sneaking random things into play. But overall, yeah, it was a ton of fun. If you like the style of deck and you don't care about your win rate overall, I definitely recommend it. If you do, like I said, at the very least, do not play Jumbo Cactuar. Play more Atraxas, more Griselbrands, more Emrakul, Archon of Cruelty, or something like that. If you really care about your win rate, honestly, go play Sneak and Show, go play Omnitel, play one of the blue cheetah big thing into play decks. But I hope you all had as much fun watching as I did playing. I will catch you all in the next video. And as always, stay salty. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you like what you saw. If you did, do me a favor, hit that like and sub button below. They are free ways to support the channel. And drop a comment, let me know what you like. Any kind of feedback you got, your opinions on my gameplay, the decks that I play, any of that kind of stuff. If you really like what you see, go ahead and drop by the Patreon. Become a patron, get to read some of my tournament reports and some stuff going on outside of just Magic in my life that I'm going to start putting over there as kind of my own personal blog. Also, you can do donation deck lists over there, just the price of a league if you have a specific deck you want to see, or you have an idea you want me to brew around, something like that, go ahead and do that. Nothing is required. It's always appreciated, though. Any donations go directly back into the channel, covering stuff such as leagues for donation decks or the rental program that I'm a part of. I am a small-time YouTuber. I'm doing this for fun. I really hope you all like what you saw. I truly appreciate you all stopping by. I will catch you all in the next video, and as always, stay salty.